Hello, everyone. A couple of items for housekeeping before we get started. Everyone is going to be in listen-only mode. You have the chance during the session or after the session to type your questions in the chat window. And today's session is going to be recorded. It's going to be uploaded to our channel. So we will share the link at the end of the session. You can subscribe the channel so that you can see the updates whenever that they're going to be available. We're just gonna wait here for a few minutes and then we're gonna get started. Thank you. Hello, and welcome to another session from Team Canada's Tech Thursdays. My name is Wylan Waisri. I am a sales engineer with WatchGuard Canada, and today we're going to be talking about Wi-Fi 6 access points in WatchGuard Cloud. In today's agenda, we're going to talk about the USB or Unified Security Platform, or the vision of how the components are going to interact with each other when it comes to all the components from WatchGuard. Then we're going to talk about the Wi-Fi 6 access points models, what's available and where it's going to be used, indoor, outdoor. And then we're going to talk about license types and expiration. And also we're going to be talking about the AP activation and assignment WatchGuard Cloud, which is we're going to have a demo. We'll take you through the steps on how to do that. Also, we're going to see how to manage the access point configuration in the cloud and how we can create templates when it comes to the configuration. And then we will take a quick look at how to monitor these access points in the cloud. If we have a few minutes at the end, we're going to have a question and answer session. All right, so let's get started. The first thing I wanted to share with you today is USB. You're gonna hear this term a lot in the next couple of months or years, which is related to the Unified Security Platform, which is the vision of how WatchGuard components are gonna interact with each other, how they're gonna be managed, monitored, and how we can provide an added value services to you as managed service provider, which is you can actually relay to your end users and clients. So the main idea is based on WatchGuard Cloud. It's a centralized management layer providing single pane of glass for administration, operational automation, visibility, and reporting. As you can see in here, the components that we have or products that we sell in WatchGuard, it's going to have the network security, which is the firewalls. It can be physical appliance, which is the T series or the M series. It can be virtual, can run on VMware or Hyper-V, or it can be a cloud-based, which is can be AWS or Azure. And then we have secure Wi-Fi, which is this is what we're going to be focusing on today. It's the Wi-Fi component. And also we have the multi-factor authentication, which is off-point for security, as well as the endpoint security, which is what's going to be installed on the endpoints to protect the endpoints, regardless where they are connected from. And as you can see in here, we are trying to secure your network. Doesn't matter where this network is, because now we know that it's the landscape have changed when it comes to networking. Some of your employees can be behind a firewall. Some others, they have a Wi-Fi access point that is using VPN back to your firewall in the HQ. Some others, they just connected through their home office or they're traveling. And all these components, when they work together, it's going to secure them from different layers. The main idea also behind having the UPS platform is that all these components that we know the advantages now of how we're going to do the administration for them from the same location, do the reporting, the activation, the licensing, management, all that. Also, we have ThreatSync. ThreatSync, it's gonna actually gather all these logs from the different components that we have in here, and it's gonna have the XDR layer, or extended detection and response. Uh, that's for detecting, correlating, and putting different priority on threats. And it can be automated or can be manual remedy when it comes to different type of attacks. So now we have all the components can be measured in the same location or to the same location, also to make sense of all these logs from different components. And also we have the identity framework, which is the zero trust layer, that it can have different rules that you can configure users, devices based on the risk. So we have definitely some of the features. It's going to overlap with multi-factor authentication. Some others going to be with authentication domains, where we can actually create the authentication server or services as an object that it can be used in different locations, like in secure Wi-Fi or network security or at the endpoint. As well as definitely the integrations with different third-party tools and services, opening the API. Since now we have everything under WatchGuard Cloud, then it's going to be easier when it's dealing with API, as well as the FlexPay, the different type of MSSP command or SSP points that is going to be available when it comes to the subscription term-based business models. And definitely, when we put all that together, it's going to simplify the management for the MSP and MSSP. So one of the things here about ThreatSync that I was talking about, as you can see, that we have the network security, secure Wi-Fi, the endpoint protection, and MFA. All of them, when it comes to the logs or telemetry that is going to be sent, it's going to be sent here to the machine learning, where we can do the threat correlation. We provide visibility about the user risk, the device risk, the incident risk, and definitely we can automate the response, or we can just have alert for manual action in this scenario. Now, when it comes to the XDR vision also, that all the products is gonna share that knowledge. That's the important point. Where we have here, for example, when it comes to the network activity, where we have the activity that it's happening, like how the TDR used to work on the endpoint itself. The Wi-Fi, when we have evil twin and rogue access point, network hopping users, we can do proactive remediation, like, for example, host isolation, like TDR used to do. The policies to allow traffic only from clean hosts. And also, we're going to retain all the logs from suspicious hosts so that you can go back and revisit that information. So you can see here, this is something that is going to be available in a later stage, where when all the components gonna communicate to the XDR, where you have the incidents in there. You can take a look at that information, which is going to be very helpful for the security team. And also the concept of zero trust. You're going to hear that term a lot. It started with the endpoint, and also we have it with the off-point MFA, where if we don't have a policy that allowing it, it's not going to run, right? It doesn't matter if it is a device, if it's a process, if it's a task, if it is a network device, then we have zero trust enforcement. It doesn't matter where they are coming from. Are they coming from behind the firewall? They're coming from the internet. They connect through the cable, or they're connected through the Wi-Fi itself. All right, so that was the USP. When we talk about unified security platform, and Wi-Fi 6 access points is one of the components of that platform. Now, when it comes to the different models that's available for the access points, And these access points are activated and managed in Wi-Fi in WatchGuard Cloud, right? Because previously we did have Wi-Fi Cloud, which used to be from Arista. Um, that used to be available. There are some customers they still using it, but it was the previous Wi-Fi 5. So here, when we talk about Wi-Fi 6, it's only that's going to be supported in WatchGuard Cloud. So we have here three access points that is going to be indoor, the 130, 330, and 432. And we have the one that is for outdoor, is going to be the 430 CR. As you can see, they're all support Wi-Fi 6. They all going to be managed by WatchGuard Cloud. They all support remote access point. We will touch on this. It depends on the license that you have, but they all support that option in case if, for example, you take 130 and you want to install it on your employees' home network and they don't have a firewall and you want to have an IKE V2 tunnel back to your HQ. In this scenario, then it can actually be used. Also, the zero-touch deployment, we're going to talk about that, where you can do the configuration for the sites, and then you can actually activate it and ship it, and once that's being connected, it will download the configuration. Now, when it comes to the 130 is for low density, so small office, remote office, or meeting room. The 330 is for some locations such as warehouses, campuses, retail, or large offices. For the high density, and this is saying coming soon, but it's already came a couple of weeks ago, so this is available as well. 432 that it has ideal for warehouse, campuses, and large offices. The 430, as we said, CR, it's for outdoor. Also, it can be used in manufacturing and a warehouse. It has external antennas. So when it comes to the Wi-Fi 6 use cases, definitely we can use it in home office, in retail store, corporate office, or stadium. But some of the points that I just want to bring to your attention in here, that this system or solution with Wi-Fi 6 now and WatchGuard Cloud and all the components in one location, it's more reliable ecosystem that it will minimize the interruption to the productivity or to the troubleshooting of the system. Also, the multitasking environment that utilizes high bandwidth, such as video conference call, file sharing, research and workshop. Definitely, Wi-Fi 6, it has the access point have more antennas, more device can be connected, and it support higher bandwidth. So definitely, these type of application will have better chance using Wi-Fi 6 access points. Also, the seamless wireless experience that support higher number of devices. Definitely, Wi-Fi 6, it's access point comparison to Wi-Fi 5. It can support more devices that's connected at the same time. Also, when we talk about IoT, right? Internet of Things, it's being used, wider in more locations now, in more industries, and you will see it everywhere. So if you have that in a retail shop or maybe in restaurants or factories, all these devices now, they actually have larger batteries and they require more bandwidth, right, when it comes to the Wi-Fi. So definitely Wi-Fi 6 can help in that. So also it can be used in other surveying tools, push notification that can be delivered without interruption for the wireless experience when it comes to the communication with IoT. We got to maximize the performance to support point of sale systems. Definitely this is for retail shops, and also we can scale up the business with using WPA3, which is actually much more secure than WPA2. which is going to be supported in Wi-Fi 6. The last thing I just wanted to bring to your attention here is related to if you want to use it outdoor, right? The outdoor model, definitely it can support temperatures because of the enclosure from -40 to 65 Celsius. Most probably Canada, we worried about the cold more than it's going to be for the heat. We have different environments that it can be used for. It's also like in parks, stadiums, camping sites. So definitely that's going to be a very good use. One thing here also I want to bring to your attention is related to the model that we're going to use for the outdoor, which is the AP430CR. It's when you order, definitely you need to order the hardware for any of the other access point. The extra one here is related to the antennas. So it requires 6 antennas. 2 antennas for each radio band and 2 antennas for the dual bands scanning radio. On the top of the access point, there are 2 N-type connectors for 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz dual band radios, and 1 connector for the scanning radio. And on the bottom of the access point, there are 2 N-type connectors for 5 gigahertz radio and 1 connector for the scanning radio, right? So whenever that you order the 430CR, you need also to order the antennas that is required, which is 6 of them. Okay, so that was the models that's available for indoor and outdoor. Now, when it comes to the licensing, this table here summarizes the 2 available options: the standard Wi-Fi and unified security platform Wi-Fi. Right. So let's take a look at the standard Wi-Fi. So definitely both of them here, they're gonna be managed via WatchGuard Cloud. You have 24/7 support and hardware warranty, inventory management. You can access it using SSH and CLI. The configuration of the radio settings, SSIDs of the device settings, the firmware update, the reporting and visibility for 24 hours, live status visibility, the API, and also the AP site templating. So this is a template that you can create, and when you add the access point, it can inherit that configuration. So all that's available in the standard Wi-Fi. Now, if you go to the unified security platform Wi-Fi, the extra thing that if you have an external syslog server, then you will need that. If you want to go with the remote access point using IKE v2 VPN feature, which is, as we said, if you have a home office and you want to create an SSID that automatically will tunnel everything through IKE v2 back to the HQ, then you can use this feature. The captive portal, so if you require a captive portal, you need the Unified Security Platform Wi-Fi license, as well as the reporting and visibility. The standard Wi-Fi has only 24 hours retention period, but the other license has 30 days. And also we have other, future security and Wi-Fi features that is going to be available in the next, couple of quarters, that it's going to be covered only in the Unified Security or USP Wi-Fi license. Right. So the idea is that the standard Wi-Fi license is going to offer the features required to manage your wireless access point from WatchGuard Cloud. This license is intended for customers that just need Wi-Fi. But the USB license offers additional features focusing on security, logging and reporting, 30 days of data retention, and these features are going to be all-inclusive Wi-Fi license for the customer. All right, now some of the points to take into account. You cannot manage the Wi-Fi 6 access point, which is 130, 330, 430 CR, and 432 with the gateway wireless controller in the Firebox or with Wi-Fi cloud, which is we used to have on the previous generation of access points. So you cannot mix and match between Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 6, and managing these new Wi-Fi 6 access points using the firewall. You cannot use WatchGuard Cloud to manage previously released access points. So if you have 120, 125, 225W, or 320, 325, 327, or 420, they are currently managed by the gateway wireless controller on the Firebox, so Wi-Fi cloud. You cannot manage them with WatchGuard Cloud. Okay, so what about the expiration? So what's going to happen here if the license expire for these access points that managed by WatchGuard Cloud? Now, the access point, it's going to continue passing the wireless traffic with the last received configuration from WatchGuard Cloud. The access point device information and summary is going to be available in WatchGuard Cloud for you to check in case if you needed to check that. The SSH access and CLI is going to be available if you want to do diagnostics. You cannot modify the configuration except for SSID security passphrase and the device password, which is going to be used for CLI access, right? But you cannot modify the configuration if the license has been expired. There is no access to any firmware upgrade, operating system upgrade after the license expired, as well as the advanced features such as access point, VPN, and captive portal, syslog, and also the retention period, right, of 30 days is not going to be available anymore. So as you can see here, no new visibility report is going to be available. All the reports might be available, but sometimes there is no guarantee, right? It depends, if the license, if definitely it's a good idea to keep an eye on your license whenever that it's going to expire, so ahead of time to renew it. Technical support definitely is not available for access point with expired licenses. Okay, so now we talked about USB and the hardware. So you need to check which hardware that you want, which model, indoor, outdoor. For the outdoor, you need to also order the antennas, and then you have to choose which license you want to go with, the basic one, or you want the USB license. Now, once you have all of that, we're going to go to the next steps, which is I'm going to take you here through the demo on how it's going to look like in WatchGuard Cloud. But this is kind of a summary, and I took this one from the documentation that's available for everyone under the WatchGuard help site. So in here, these are the steps that's going to apply to the Wi-Fi 6 access points. We need to activate the access point, which is obvious. It's the same like if you have a firewall or off point or end point, it's the same process. Then if you're a service provider, you're going to allocate the access point to the subscriber account. If it's a subscriber account already, you don't need to do this step. We're going to add the access point to WatchGuard Cloud. And then we're going to connect and power on the access point. Then we can do the configuration of the access point. One of the things in here we're going to revisit later on, you can have the access point sites, which you can actually, before this step, whenever that you're adding the access point to WatchGuard Cloud, if you already have the template, you can say, okay, I'm adding this access point and it's going to use a template that I already have, right? So if, for example, you've done the first 2, 3, and you have 20 of them, the rest of them, you don't need to do the configuration again, right? You already have the template. Right, and once that we do the configuration, we want to verify the access point status, that it is up and running, and definitely you test it by having a user connect to it, and you can take a look at the monitoring. But before we do that, one of the things just I wanted to revisit here, which is step number 4, which is connecting and powering the access point. Always make sure there's whenever that you're actually adding the access point, to WatchGuard Cloud, it will ask you if it has a DHCP or static IP address. So if you specify DHCP, make sure that the DHCP is enabled on the port that's connected to that access point. Also, the access point is going to be using TCP port 443. Make sure that port is open. I mean, it's obvious that we use this port in everything when it comes to 443, but sometimes if you have another firewall in the middle or some other, device that it is blocking that, access point must also be able to connect to this destination, which is the WatchGuard IO. This is for the product activation and feature key updates, and .com, WatchGuard.com for WatchGuard cloud registration and connection. So keep that in mind. If at the beginning they had any issue, try to make sure that your firewall, if it's not WatchGuard, that have these open. Another thing to keep in mind is definitely related to the PoE. I just wanted to um, tell you about this. Most of the end users and partners now, they're using switches that already have PoE plus built in. You don't need to worry about anything. But just to know that for 130 it's using PoE, but for the rest of them they're using PoE plus. So this is something important to keep in mind. If it's just a single access point and it is at the end user, um, you know that it's going to be using it at home or home office, there's the option that you can use the PoE injector. You have to buy this extra accessory from WatchGuard, which is going to enable you to connect here, and you can have the PoE or PoE plus. Mainly that the one that we sell now, it's PoE plus, so it's going to be backward compatible with 130. Okay, great. This is mainly the summary of what we're going to do in our demo. So let's jump into the demo. Okay, so as usual, I always like to share some of the links that it will provide you with more information in case you wanted to dig deeper into these topics. So always, Help Center is one of the links that I would go to. Under the Help Center here, you will see all the categories for the different components that we have. Please make sure that if you are doing Wi-Fi in WatchGuard Cloud, is to click on this categorization here, not on Wi-Fi Cloud Help. This was for the older access point. So for the newer one, I'll just go there. And you can see now I have access points. This is where it's going to show you all the available access points, the steps when it comes to the configuration. This is definitely, it's one of the best places to go for more information about the new access points and how to configure them. Another place is if you just actually in Google, you type WatchGuard video tutorials, this is going to pop up. And this is where you can go, and it's not only for Wi-Fi access points, but also for the other products. If you're looking for short videos about specifics, then this is a place to go. So for example, here I want Wi-Fi and WatchGuard Cloud. There's two that is being up to date here. One is to getting started with Wi-Fi and WatchGuard Cloud. It's just 7 minutes video. Another one, if you want to configure the VPN connectivity for access points, the RAP or remote access point feature that is available with the USB license, right? So now let's go ahead here and go back to the steps that we talked about. So the first thing, definitely, and I already done that, it's related to activating the access points. Once that you have purchased the access point with the license serial number, then you can go to product and you can go to support center first, because we are in the partner portal. Under My WatchGuard, then you can actually activate the product there. Once being activated, you can go to manage products and make sure that it is there. Let me just log in here. All right. So for me, I always put my name in front of any of the devices that I install. So this is the one that we're going to be using, which is the AP130. Just wanted to show you how it's going to look like, the services and upgrades that is available with it. So it has the USP license, it's not the basic one, right? I get the feature key here, the information that is available with the feature key. So now I have this one activated. I can go back here and I can go to WatchGuard Cloud. Let's close the things that we don't need. Okay, so once that I activated it, now it's going to go automatically under my account as a service provider, right? So here I can go to inventory and I'm going to go under access point and allocated, and I can see now the access point, right? The device model, the serial number, and when the license is going to expire. So currently it is not being allocated or assigned to any of my clients, right? These are the accounts for different clients that we have. So what I need to do is to actually allocate it. I'm going to allocate it here to my beta. I'll put the expiration as never for now, right? Now, if I go back to this specific account and under allocation, now I can see this access point is being allocated. So the next step that I need to do is we allocated access point, but we need to add it. So what we have to do, configure devices under access point, we're going to add a device. So we can see the access point now. It's available right here, right? Everything is correct. I can change the name in here, but I just want to keep it as this name. I can change the time zone. So let's go with the Eastern time, right? This is where it's going to give you the option if you want to have DHCP IP address or you want to have a static IP address where you can put the IP address, subnet mask, the gateway, the DNS server, and also the ability to enable management VLANs if that's the situation that you have on your firewall or internal network. But currently for this demo, I already have my DHCP that is being enabled and the access point is connected to the PoE plus port that it's on T80. So I'm good to go in here. At this step, it's going to ask you about the access point site. This is kind of the template, right? We didn't create it yet. I'm going to show you later on how to create it and we can apply it. But I want to show you also in case that you just have a single access point, you want to enable it, you want to do the guest access, the guest SSID on it, on how quickly that can, actually be done. So for now, it's none. This step is asking you for the admin password. It's going to be used for CLI access to the device. Just give it a minute here. Okay, connect your device now. All right, make sure that DHCP is enabled on the network. We connect the access point. The access point will connect to WatchGuard Cloud. So already done that. It's up and running. Click done. I'm gonna give it a minute or two. It will show at the beginning that's never connected. Once that gets the IP address that can communicate with the cloud, then it will actually show up in here that it's connected. All right, while this is happening, one of the things that we can actually start doing now is to do the configuration. So I can go here under device configuration. This is where I can add an SSID. So let's say that I just want to do a quick configuration to add an SSID that it's going to be for guest Wi-Fi, right? So I'll go here, add SSID. I'm going to say this one is USB guest Wi-Fi. I want to broadcast this ID. When it comes to type, you can go with private or guest. I'm going to put as guest. The radio, 2.45 gigahertz, is going to be using WPA2. I have the option for WPA3 personal or mixture between PA3 and PA2. In this scenario, the network is going to be bridged. I have the option to do netted in case if I wanted to do that. So the access point, it will provide kind of different IP address range for that. But I want it to be bridged because I already connected it to that DCP port that it's already have a dedicated IP address range. I can enable VLAN in case if I wanted to do that. And I'm going to do the passphrase. Right? Now the SSID has been added. Okay, so a couple of minutes later, as you can see, I just refreshed and the device is being connected. Here you can see the information about the name, the model, the version, the serial number, as well as the public IP address and the local IP address that they got from the DHCP. And also you can see the information because I've been using this before. This is why it says it's 52 days, but if it's a brand new, definitely it's not going to show that. And you can see here also the license that's been applied to it. You can reboot the device in here. In case there is a new version of the operating system, you'll see also that you have the ability to upgrade it from here. You have the option here to flash the device LED or LEDs. This is to pinpoint the device if in case somebody is on site and want to know which access point that you're talking about. And now, if we go back to the device configuration, you can see that you have undeployed changes, which is we added the SSID that is related to the guest Wi-Fi. Let's say that I want to do more changes. I can go to scheduling, for example. I say this is going to be available only 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday because it's guest. They're not going to be available on Saturday and Sunday. I can do that. I can do the client isolation, which is here enabled by default. This feature is going to prevent communication between the client connected to the same SSID. So because they are guests, the only way that they to go is to go out to the internet and not to communicate with each other, right, in the same network. So this is something that's important for the guest. Okay, so I'm going to save that to show that it's undeployed, but I want to deploy it now, not later. You can schedule it on another time if you want, put the description. I want to deploy it now, right? And I'm going to put in the description here that this is guest Wi-Fi and deploy it now. All right. So if I go back here, you can see the deployment history. We will see if there is any issue, right? If the initial configuration happened, if the the information has been pushed or not. You can view the configuration report from here. The radio settings, the SSID that is being sent. Right. You can go to the device password and change the CLI username password from here. So this is when it comes to the configuration. If you want to do something that it's quick, just guest Wi-Fi for one access point. But also you see here there's an option that it can actually belong to a site or a template. So if you want to do that, you have to go to the configuration, access point size, which belongs to this client here. Right, I already had one from before, but we can create a new one. And let's call this one is, Halifax. Okay, so all these access point in Halifax, they belong, to the same client, but they are in different buildings. Then we can go with that. So the same steps, we're gonna go with the SSID. I can add an SSID here, and we're gonna say this one for staff. Private, LPA2. We're gonna put the password. It is bridged. Okay. Then I can go other options that's available. So we have the option for access control, where you have the MAC address control list in here, the allowed or blocked. So the main reason for this, if you have a couple of devices that you want to add, specifically you can. It's not meant to be, an automated process so that you can, have a large, huge list of MAC addresses in this scenario. Scheduling, which is we talked about before, when is turned on off the specific SSID. Traffic shaping, so you can have the SSID bandwidth control in here. You can limit what's the upload limit. You can do per client if you want, download limit, in total or per client. And under advanced, some of the management or the operational features, right? Each one of them, the good thing here, before it was you have to go to the documentation to find out, but each one of them, you can see here, if you have an arrow, it means that it has options. And next to it, it will tell you exactly what it is for. So this is 802.11w. It's mainly for management frame spoofing protection. So when we're using WP2 WPA2 encryption, and we have this option that's going to be definitely not an option. It's required if you're using WPA3. You have the option here for fast roaming, band steering. For example, we want to turn on band steering that we can prefer 5 gigahertz, and we can set what's the RSI threshold, as well as we can do also the client isolation in case if I want to do that. But this is for staff. Maybe the devices need to communicate with each other. I'm not going to do that for the staff here. I'm going to save that. So I have now the SSID for the staff. I'm going to go back. The other option that is available in here is related to the authentication domain. You can add authentication domain in here. One of them that I've been using with my firewalls for other reasons, for MFA, but this is what we talk about, the unified identity framework project that it's going on, that I can add that one in case if I want to. This is actually one of my local Active Directory. I can save it and add it and maybe use it later on. All right, if I want to do the access point VPN or wrap, this is actually, you can turn it on and you can, it's gonna take you through the steps on how you're gonna do that. And you have the option here for the captive portal. If I want to enable captive portal for a selected SSID, currently only I have one. I can enable it to one, all, or specific ones. We have the captive portal reserved IP address range, right? And we have the splash page where we can go under administration here and it's going to be redirecting us so that we can actually do the branding for it. There's a couple of advanced options that's related to the session timeout. There's defaults in there. If you want to change it, you can. Also can have a walled garden destination that can be added in this scenario. So this feature, the captive portal, definitely it has to be with the USP license, not with the basic one. Right? So after I did this configuration, that I have the staff configuration, I can go here under subscribe devices, select devices, and currently I have only one. If I have multiple, I can decide which one. The devices can actually subscribe to only one site. You cannot, have one access point. It's gonna be part of multiple sites. So as you can see in here, that I have one device, but it's undeployed. So I will schedule a deploy, and I'll say this one is for the access site. I'm going to deploy it. All right. You can go to the deployment history in here and see that it succeeded. I can go back to devices, access point, device configuration, and I can see that the site has been added. Right. So one of the things that if you have maybe it's the other way around, that you have guest Wi-Fi access point in all of the sites, then you can do that under the access point site. That's going to be inherited by all of them, and then you can go to specific, SSIDs, maybe one of the location that is required for contractors. Then you can add it on the level of the access point itself. Okay. As you can see in here, this one is blocked or locked because it's coming from the template. I cannot change it in here, but this one I can change. Right? And that's it when it comes to the configuration. Now when it comes to the monitoring, so you can go under monitor, devices, and this is where you're gonna see all the information that's related to the device. Currently, there is no clients that is connected to it. So definitely the best thing is to test it and see if we can connect to the staff SSID. So I'm gonna do that from my phone. Right, it shows on my phone that it is being connected. Let's refresh this. You can see my phone is being connected. It's green. I can see the MAC address there, the IP address that's being assigned, the operating system, it's Android, SSID, BSSID, the channel, the RSSI, radio that's being used. Here definitely we are using 802.11ax. Data rate, the upload and download, and the connection time. All right, maybe we can run some streaming on it. So we can see some data in there. Right, while we collect some data in there, we can also visit some of the other information that is available for here that's related to the diagnostic tools, where you can do a ping, a trace route, or DNS lookup from here to specific IP address. There is the option for snapshot. This is where you can download diagnostic file. You can read it, definitely. It's double zipped, so you have to unzip it first to be able to read it, but mainly it's going to be also used for support in case that you need to troubleshoot. Okay, let's take a look actually at another site. There are some of the access points that it's available on sites in Eastern Canada, where we have more devices that is connected. We have 130 and we have the 432. So this is a sample of how it's going to look like. It will give you the information in here. Let's say that we want for the last 24 hours. Right, so it will tell you here the network usage, that the peak times was 10 clients, total upload, the performance issue. These are clickable. The top clients, if there is any connection issues, maybe there was a failure, I can find out what was the failure in this scenario. So it's incorrect password, and I can go into more details. Can see the username, the IP address, right, and the history of what happened in here, if there was a previous successful connection or not. So as you can see, we have the network usage. Right, for the last 24 hours, where it's going to show me the upload traffic volume, the download traffic volume, the number of clients in there. I can definitely zoom in here to see at what time, and how many megabit that when it comes to traffic volume. I can see the top clients. Right, each one of them, the IP address, the SSID that they were connected to. And we can take a look at any connection issues, which is we revisited earlier, which is, for example, if it's incorrect password. We have also the performance issues in case that low RSSI or low data rate, then actually I can find out more information related to that. I can see the live status, so who is currently connected. And it will give you all the information that's related to the connected clients. All right, so that was quick overview of the Wi-Fi 6 access point in WatchGuard Cloud, on different models that's available, the license that's available, how quickly that you can actually deploy it, the usage of the access sites templates, which is going to make your life much easier. Once that you do the configuration the first time, then the rest of them, it's going to be quick to deploy. Thank you so much for joining our session today. We always love to hear from you about how we did. Please scan this QR code or go to this link for a quick feedback. And also join us monthly every third Thursday, so we will have more sessions coming up. The session is going to be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel under WatchGuard Canada. And this session is going to be uploaded within a week. I'm going to wait here for a couple of minutes just to see if you have any more questions related to the session. Thank you.